So, Paul, if you run the video and we'll just talk over it.
Everyone, choose life.
Right, stop talking.
Choose a car. Choose an electric car. Choose an electric van.
You've got those damn grey
Choose to
blocks
clear your
on
diary
again.
for an hour of the day to listen to industry experts.
It's working fine for
Choose
me.
wind. Choose solar. Whatever you choose, choose not to burn stuff. Choose collaboration. Choose sustainable transport solutions. Choose a fixed rate renewable energy tariff and a meat-free diet. Choose net zero by 2050. Choose switching to electric and wondering why it's taking you so long. Choose knowledge. Choose laughter. Choose your friends. Choose your regular hit of the EV Cafe webinar.
Yeah, exactly.
Choose relaxing on your couch listening to game-changing, thought-provoking intellectuals that actually know what they're talking about. Choose sipping a brew at the end of it all, safe in the knowledge that you now know better than to listen to the waffle from Bob and Karen on Facebook. Choose the EV Cafe.
We are live.
Hooray!
A very warm welcome to the EV Cafe. My name is Johnny Berry and I'm one of the 5 Avengers of the EV Cafe. But we're missing one, aren't we? Where's Sam Clark? I'm sure we'll join in a moment.
He's on the mug.
He is a mug.
He is a mug.
He is. Yes, he is. He's the centre of the jokes for this afternoon, that's for sure. So part of my role within the EV Cafe is to ensure that we stay on schedule and to ensure our guests turn up on time. And in my day job, I take charge of Nabuda Vehicle Solutions decarbonisation strategy, excuse the pun. We are streaming live from various social media platforms this afternoon, but if you do have a question, then it's best to head over to Zoom. We'll put the link in the chat box, or will that work? It's a place where we can get them answered for you. Otherwise, feel free to continue enjoying the show on LinkedIn or YouTube. We always love to hear from you, so please do say hello and tell us where in the world you're tuning in from. But today, we're talking about last mile delivery. Now then, it's pretty safe to say that the typical internal combustion engine van is on the green mile. However, last mile delivery fleets are changing their ways, and today we're going to hear what's going on, aren't we, Sarah?
Yes.
So who do we have on today?
Well, we have got a jam-packed schedule as always, and unbelievably we're still running to time. So we're going to hear from Yana Hara from Level Telematics, going to tell us all about Geotab, Fraser McLean from MH Carriers, Paul Yeoman from PostTag, and we're going to have a news round. I've been told to bring the news round back, so that's good. And then we're going to hear from Sharik on the London EV show, which we will be at in just a couple of weeks' time. So loads of time for questions, but should we all introduce ourselves as well?
Yes, please, Sarah. Yeah.
Well, seeing as I've got the floor. Hello, I'm Sarah Sloman. I'm long-serving infrastructure enthusiast, now dealing with fleet on a daily basis to help to make that parking and charging sort of refueling process a little easier. And I'm the director of Future Fleet at a fabulous company called PayThrough, and we are the sort of the behind-the-scenes tech that makes all of that happen with apps and payments. There you go. Who should I pick on? Let's go, Paul.
Oh, damn, I was just about to message everybody. Right, so I'm Paul Kirby. I will do my introduction first, and then I will talk about what I usually talk about. So
you do you, Paul.
I'll do me. I'll do me. So, director
Nobody
of
else would.
Essentials. I will speak when you're all quiet. Married to a teacher, don't you know? Anyway, so I'm Paul Kirby. I work in the decarbonisation of transport environment, doing consultancy and media and training. That's what I do. And this madness, it's a real joy to be able to be with us all and to kind of accelerate the transition to electric vans in particular, because that's my thing. In terms of what do, I celebrate our sponsors. Our sponsors are a wonderful group of people, beginning with My Energy, fantastic charging equipment, but not only charging equipment, it's linked to all kinds of things. And they just launched the new battery element of the thing, and somebody will tell me what it's called. Libby? I think it's called the Libby. Yes, obviously short for liberty, giving us freedom with our energy. Fantastic. The AA are another sponsor of ours and a fantastic group and organization. They are giving power to electric drivers, but not just stopping at electric drivers. They're helping the charging infrastructure and many, many more things around the diversification within the AA. It's fantastic. And then we've got EV Civils, of course, not just digging holes in ground, but doing all kinds of things around decarbonizing, getting stuff into the ground. It's really important because it's often missed. It's the dirty end and we forget about it. And who else are we sponsored by? Well, we're sponsored by Level. And Level are a recruitment company led by the wonderful Stuart Middleton, and they are really focused on the green tech space and getting right people into the right jobs and giving life to those lovely people. And I'm just thinking, who have I forgotten? Because there is one, and of course it's the wonderful Geotab tracking, not just tracking, helping us transition, with insight from data to a wonderful green future. And that's it. Those are our sponsors. More to come. And I'm going to hand over to John Curtis now.
Now, Paul, did you mention the dirty end?
I knew you'd pick up on that. I mean,
that is, let me tell you, that's getting snipped. That's going on social media very soon. Hello, I'm John Curtis. I'm Operations Director for the EV Cafe. I do this thing for a laugh. So we are pulling together, and I'm herding cats, spinning plates to try and get the EV Cafe as good as it can be. And man, that is an effort, especially when you've got people like Sam Clark who pitch up when he chooses, rather than being here at 12 o'clock.
Made it.
Really sorry.
Was he busy washing his man bun? Anyway, now we have Richard Parker in the audience. I wonder if it's possible. Could we get Richard Parker on to the EV Cafe for a second? We might as well.
Do that for?
I can do that. I'm
yes.
open to panelists, whether he likes it or not.
Come on, Richard. You're eating your
So
lunch.
not prepared for this, is he, Richard? Nothing like being put on the spot.
There he
What have I
is.
done? What have I done wrong?
Look at those balloons.
Hello,
You're a
mate.
very naughty boy.
He's
Oh.
a very
What with your
naughty
dirty
boy.
end, Paul?
Tone, guys, tone.
Now then, he's not coming out. He's been a very naughty boy. Now then, Richard, welcome, my dear man, to today. Can you see my screen?
Who's
Somebody.
that little baby
I don't know
boy?
where that came from, do I?
Right now.
Oh, that's
Richard,
amazing.
Richard, you are 50 years old tomorrow, and we thought we'd just mark this event because you are quite simply one of the most fabulous
Well,
human beings in our industry.
That is very kind of it. It's nice to see I haven't lost any weight since I was born as well. So.
And a bit more hair then.
Your poor mum.
Yeah, she says that as well. Just very kind of you.
So are
It's
we going to
like-
sing happy birthday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's do that.
No,
Yes,
actually,
yes.
I don't
No.
even
Do
want
it.
that. No.
Then? Do it.
I'm going to be the
No.
only one that's
Come on,
sad.
John, lead us on.
We did
What
this.
happened last time we did that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jordan. Right, let's give it a go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
Don't
you.
like me.
Happy birthday, Richard Parker. Happy birthday to you and
There's over 100
many
people watching, and they're
more.
probably like, "What?"
They're probably, who the heck is that? Why is it that?
I think it's time to get on with the show.
I
I
think
do.
so.
Do that.
Nothing
See you,
delayed.
Richard.
Thank you, guys. See you soon. All right,
Cheers,
see you in
buddy.
London. All right.
See you, mate. Yeah, see ya.
I've not just removed him as a panelist, I've removed him from the webinar by accident.
That's amazing.
Thank you and goodbye.
Sam, do you want to do your honours and introduce yourself and then introduce our first guest for today?
Yeah, who's the first guest?
Oh, dear
Yeah,
Lord
hang on.
above.
One job. One.
It's Yana
job.
Hara.
Oh, it's Jan, is it?
Level
Okay,
Telematics.
cool.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, hello everybody. My name's Sam Clark. I'm late. I'm very sorry. I had an important meeting. I couldn't get out, but I tried really hard. Yeah. So Chief Vehicle Officer at GridServe, but general late person and financial person for the EV Cafe. So that's my role. But I shall jump straight into Jan's introduction. Now, all of the guests today I know very well for many years, which is lovely. Jan, we asked for an intro, and instead of an intro about him, he gave me an intro about Level, which just goes to show how much of a company man he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I tried my best. So here we go. Level Telematics, an electric vehicle transition practitioner, and Jan is currently working with many major retailers and last mile delivery companies. Level has been working with Geotab for the last 5 years, which I think is also the same amount of time, Jan, that you've been MD, I believe. There we go. Got something right. Good. And they are the UK's leading reseller of said telematics. They developed an ecosystem of partners who can provide an entire end-to-end journey for fleets. Their mission is to help fleets electrify with support from the world-class partners and the industry as a whole. Collaboration is the key, which is, of course, why we are delighted to have them on our webinar, because they're trying to do the same sort of things that we indeed are from their direction. So, Jan, as always, it's lovely to see you, mate. Pleasure to have you on our webinar, and we shall pass over to you.
Thank you, Sam. Nice to see you again. And I think the last time I was here was June 21, so it's nice to be back on again. So yeah, thank you very much. I mean, so I think the last time I joined, we were talking about Geotab and telematics and how we were using the telematics platform to do electric vehicle suitability assessments for fleets. We went through the case study before of one of the customers of ours where we could get more range from a vehicle, where we increased the range of a vehicle from 1 mile to the kilowatt to 3 miles to the kilowatt hour, and also looking at driver behaviour, how that impacts range of the electric vehicle fleet. At the time, I think we had 162 vehicles supported on the Geotab platform, so that was good. And things have moved forward in the last 18 months, especially in the kind of last mile delivery market for us and the retailers, the large retailers as well. I think since we last met, we did a deal with Maxus. So we have one of their electric vans now come fitted with a Geotab device as standard. And we are helping Harris Group and Maxus improve their product and also help their customers understand real capabilities of those electric vans that are currently out. There's about 4,000 currently and significantly more coming next year. Those vehicles have been seeded across different fleets, so last mile delivery companies, which is today's discussion, and we're helping those fleets go electric. So first of all, they're putting vans into their fleets, but before that, we now have the ability to start looking at taking telematics data from other platforms, not just Geotab. So taking the telematics data and looking at where the vehicles dwell and offer advice on charging infrastructure, how many chargers are required, what size of chargers could be required, and offering advice and insight on that as well. So charge planning, routing and scheduling, etc. as well. We've done quite a lot of work on integration to charge points, so making sure vehicles are ready for their shift tomorrow. And the biggest problems that we're seeing in the market currently, where you arrive in the morning to drive your van and the vehicle is not charged overnight for whatever reason. So notifying people on the ground that the vehicle, something needs to happen either to the charge point or to the vehicle has been very useful along this journey. Some of the other things that we're seeing is having the vehicle data and the charge point data together. We've making it work hand in glove. So we've identified significant issues with charge point not giving out the correct energy or the correct power when trying to charge a vehicle. So over that time, we've been able to let customers know that there's an issue on the infrastructure platform rather than at the vehicle end. So good instances where we've seen 1 kilowatt of power coming out of charge point instead of the 7 kilowatts that they're expecting, or 7 kilowatts when they're expecting 11. So things have moved on. We have a new working way. So with Geotab now, there's Go Electric, Operate Electric and Scale Electric. And I'm happy to say that we have lots and lots of fleets currently transitioning to electric vehicles in volume and at different levels of that journey. In fact, we're working with Mr. Kirby there, sitting there looking intently. Paul's making a video for us where we're showing that customer journey, and we'll be showing that.
Paul's making a video, really? You never.
I know. You imagine, can you? Not with a selfie stick anymore, Sarah. So I think the thing is, you know, we want of collaboration. So we've kind of gone along the journey now. We've shown lots of fleets how to go electric, working with the high end, you know, retailers and last mile delivery companies to operate electric, and now we're pushing into that scale electric area. Working with companies like the National Grid, Fujitsu and Arcadis recently as well, taking the telematics data, putting it all together. We found that, or Fujitsu found, that we could save an extra 15% CO2 emissions by looking at time of charge, which is a big thing for the industry. So collaboration for us at Level is the key. It's taking data from all different areas, bring it together, share it across the industry, and just do the right thing. You know, we want the industry to grow. We're willing to share and work with everybody, as we always have been. And we just want to take all the learning that we have, share it across the industry, and help the end users go and scale electric. I think that's the kind of 4.5 minute bit from me. So any questions right now? So
Thanks, Jan. Just quickly, thanks for coming back on again. We're doing the hand raising, are we?
I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to, but I just like doing it.
Sam didn't talk about the district housekeeping, so I thought all rules are off. So I just want to say it's great to see how you're supporting lots of fleets in decarbonising in lots of ways. It's just a quick reminder to our audience that if you have a question for Jan, then please stick it in the Q&A tab. As always, the best question wins a mug, and John Curtis will be the judge of that. So just want to get that out there, just to remind our audience. So
before everybody jumps in, before Paul jumps in, can I just remark on Jan's enormous flap?
Yeah, I did say, can we buy you guys an office or maybe an inside desk? Because there's a very big electric vehicle you've got there.
fully charged.
I feel sorry.
Oh, how dare you! How rude! Great friends of ours. Love you, Richie.
Maybe Jan's just really small.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
He's not.
We're not doing questions then, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
No,
you
Paul.
put your hand up.
I did mine first. Every time. Okay, thanks. Calm is restored. So with so many rising costs at the moment, I get the impression that using a telematics system is a very good way for people to take control of those costs. But what does it look like? How does somebody that's never seen a telematics system before get to grips with what they're truly expending on their miles, e-miles?
So it's really quite easy. So in the Geotab platform and others as well. I mean, we're here to talk about Geotab and its benefits today, but also other platforms. So looking at the vehicle miles per kilowatt hour, that's what we're tracking out, and how many miles per kilowatt hours is each driver getting from the vehicle. So when we looked at the case study, I think we showed back in June last time, showed that we went from 1 mile to the kilowatt hour to 3, and for that fleet, it was £1 million worth of savings at that time. That fleet has now gone full fleet with the telematics solution. And in today's current market with the energy pricing, there's probably up to about £2.5 million worth of savings just for that change in driver behaviour and driver interaction with the vehicle. So it's critical that you have a telematics product to be able to identify where things are going wrong, either at the charge point end, the charging end, or at the driver end, how they're driving the vehicle, how they're interacting with the vehicle. And then to look at that, the new world is miles per kilowatt hour instead of miles per gallon. And therefore, you know, having the ability to see in graphical format, which is what Geotab kind of brings to life, that we can see where the problems are pretty quick and we can take action immediately for that.
Paul, did you have a question?
Paul's on mute.
On mute.
I was on mute because there's some drilling going on in the background. Can't help that. Jan, the last mile is obviously a very specific sector. And have you seen specific growth in that sector from your own perspective? You know, getting the parcel to the door, and what is it? What are you noticing about that sector at the moment?
Well, we started off all that time ago doing Muller Milk and More, which is home delivery, milk bottles to the door, etc. And then from that now, we're working with lots of major retailers and courier type companies as well. Significant growth, significant trajectory towards EV and transitioning. A lot of disinformation out in the market. So we're seeing, interesting discussions that we're having regarding the end-to-end piece. And, I keep seeing this dispelling the myths. And I think it's education, Paul. We still need to educate a lot of people, a lot of customers, and show them, real world examples of what's really going on and what can actually happen, and be honest, because there's, we're starting to see that everyone wanting to sell lots of things, but it's to keep yourself honest, and that will, be good for us all.
John, we have a couple of questions in the mail
We
room.
do.
One in particular from Linda Grave. Don't you can ask that? I'd quite like to understand that as well.
I can ask all of them because it's my Q&A box.
Your job.
Linda Grave asks, do the CPOs encourage that feedback that you get, and are they welcoming of that? Can you let us know who you're working collaboratively with?
So yes, CPOs are very engaged with what we're doing, because at the end of the day, they just want their charge points to deliver the service to the customer. So the integration piece is making the vehicle and the charge point network work hand in glove. And then what we're having is a cloud to cloud conversation about, am I charging at the right rate? Will I be ready for my shift tomorrow? If not, cloud to cloud, we can send messaging to rectify the problem as best we can. And then if we don't, if the system can't rectify the problem, and we have to do what I call Control-Alt-Delete, which is take the charge point out and plug it back in again, we can send an SMS message to the user to tell them to do that action. So we've gone that whole way now to say, if your vehicle won't be ready for a shift, and Paul can say, when he left a few months ago home, we can now send Paul a message to say, you'll need to charge, you need to unplug your charger, plug it back in, otherwise your vehicle is not going to be ready in the morning for you.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Question from Sebastian Fleischak, a good friend of ours. He's asking about the tools that come with the Geotab package, task management for drivers and ways of more efficiently planning routes. Are they included within software?
So Geotab have a marketplace of partners. So if you think of Apple, the Apple platform, Geotab's kind of the operating system and the hardware, and then they have the App Store. So Geotab integrates with lots of other companies around the world, best in class, routing and scheduling companies, the algorithm people, Paragon, etc., for routing and scheduling, and significantly more. So you can bring all of that into the same platform and have one screen to consume all that data. Same thing with cameras and all of that. It all comes into the one platform.
Brilliant. Very, very quick question to finish, if I may. Mac has just asked, you mentioned that there were 163 units on Geotab 18 months ago. Any idea how many now?
Yeah, nearly 300.
That's not bad then. That's a
Very
big
good.
growth.
And just to be clear, that's not just the units that are, that's the electric, but obviously Geotab have a much bigger sphere of that. And I think it's worth mentioning, Jan, I think you'd agree that, sustainability now is also something that you can drive through the Geotab system, because, maybe you can't change to an electric vehicle today, supply, whatever, some of the challenges, fit for purpose, but what you can do is drive down the emissions of the existing vehicles through the driver behavior, through all of that good stuff, right?
Yeah, we had that, Paul, with a large retailer recently, where we lit up all the devices and found idling was a significant problem. So the reduction in idling for that fleet was significant. The numbers were fascinating and unexpected for the fleet as well. So they can certainly drive looking at that. And then brake wear was the other thing. Not knowing that the brakes were going to go down to discs and pads. So having the ability to see brake wear early stopped the need to replace discs and pads at the appropriate time as well. So big savings and good for sustainability, as you say.
Thank you, Jan. It's now time to welcome our next special guests for the show. Jan, thanks for coming on, but please don't go anywhere. Do turn your camera off until later on in the show. We'll have you back on for the final round of questions. I'm not going to do anything because I just removed people from Zoom.
Did Richard Parker make it back? Let's see.
I don't even think Richard's managed to get back
Ruined his
on.
birthday. Fab.
Yeah.
We sang and
Oh, no,
then
he's back. He's back.
He's
Oh,
back.
he's back.
Okay.
Brilliant.
All right, next guest then. So thank you, Jan, as always, brilliant. And now it's time for Fraser, a very old friend of mine. It's a pleasure to introduce him onto the EV Cafe. So Fraser is the managing director of M&H Carriers, the most prominent distribution company in the north of Scotland. Fraser was the first to introduce an EV fleet to the Highlands of Scotland. 10 vans were added to the fleet in June 2021. And since introducing its electric fleet, M&H Carriers has covered over 51,000 electrically powered miles in north of Scotland, I hastened to remind everyone, which is amazing, saving a total of 31,000 grams of CO2 emissions every year. It also says here he learned all he knows about EV logistics from me.
I knew you were going to say that. I
knew that was coming.
That was
Deny
coming.
it.
He's still got a
Deny it.
business operating.
Hey, shut up, you lot. I'm introducing.
Sam on
Keep quiet.
mute.
Mute everybody, really. Now, listen, the last thing is an interesting fact about Fraser. I've known this guy for years, and yet this sentence I can scarcely believe because it's never come up in conversation once at any point whatsoever. He also ran a successful ice cream man. He was also a successful ice cream man in Canada and claims to be able to scoop the perfect ball of ice cream, which is the most random sentence I've ever heard. But anyway, that's my introduction over. Fraser, I know you're bilingual, so if you could speak in English, that'd be really handy. And
Well, I knew that was coming. I was going to bring a can of Iron Brew to the camera, but I thought I'd give it a miss just to keep you happy, Mr.
Well,
Clark.
on the EV Rally, I can say safely that Sam only likes the diet Iron Brew. It's not really the actual
listen.
Iron Brew. So.
He's too busy trying to look like Stephen Toast these days, so it's
Everyone Google
difficult.
Stephen
Oh, he's
Toast.
got there. He is. He's got a bottle there.
Just
So,
for you. Just for you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Yeah, well, I will try and speak as clearly and succinctly as possible because Mr. Clark does pull me up for my enunciation. So, yeah, little bit about myself. I'll cover the ice cream later on. That was a long time ago, but I had to put something random in that Sam hadn't heard before. So there you go. Yeah, we're a distribution company in the north of Scotland. So we have operations in Argyll, Dundee, Aberdeen and Inverness, and then some satellite sites around the north of Scotland. Have known Sam a long time and we worked together for a period. And it's also true to say that I did lean on him for some knowledge around electric vehicles, but I think he also lent on me for some logistical knowledge. So we'll call that one probably 50-50. But I think like a lot of these things, you go to the people that you trust and get knowledge from the people that you're asking for their expertise in. So I was actually a bit shocked that in 2020, I've lived in the Highlands of Scotland for a long time, and Academy Street in Inverness, you think of the Highlands as being this beautiful place with lots of green land and no pollution, but Academy Street in Inverness was the sixth most polluted street in Scotland on nitrous dioxide, and which shocked me as someone who lives there. And at that time, as a business owner, when you're looking into things and you also have a family and everything else, you think, you know what, we've all got to start somewhere and start doing something about these problems, because there was no real onus on us to do anything, is the truth. So made the decision that we were going to do something, and you just have so many negative people and so many people telling you it can't. Oh, there's no charging infrastructure. Okay, so we put our own in. We put 17 charge points into the depot in Inverness with groundworks, and we worked with Easy to get that done. Then we introduced 10 electric vans to the fleet. We did all 10 running out of the Inverness depot at first, MENE TGEs. So predominantly the mileage is about 85 miles a day, and we made some horrendous mistakes running them for the first couple of months. We then moved one of the vans out to Elgin, which is, we've got a depot in Elgin, and we're doing deliveries there, and then one down to Fort William. So if you think about the Highlands of Scotland and how difficult the area is to cover anyway geographically, we made the decision to go with electric vehicles. The capital expenditure on them was slightly higher than with diesel, but the actual cost to run them was much cheaper. And I think that from the point of view of when you start using electric vehicles, you know, there's more of an outlay at the start, but the payback starts to come every month that you run them. And the other owner of the business, who sadly passed away in the summer, Magnus, who formed M&H, he was the M in M&H. it's a bit like working with a smoker that becomes a non-smoker, because he was like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. This is a bloody PR stunt, blah, blah, blah. The usual kind of carry on that you hear. And then within the first month of looking at the cost per mile to run electric vans compared to the diesel vans, it was almost like half, and actually was so much more cost effective. So then he was like, oh, we need to buy another X number, and the mileage won't work. You know, we can't actually do that yet because the 10 that we've got are working in the range and in the area that we need. So we've recently had the Maxus on trial, and we are working with the manufacturers now to find the vans that will be able to do the range of miles that we do, so that we can start replacing our longer mileage routes when the technology and the if you like, the manufacturing capability is there. So I think that one of the days I was walking down the street in Inverness, it was a great moment for me where, you know, family-owned business in the Highlands. You had our electric vehicle parked in Inverness High Street next to FedEx, UPS, and DHL, all diesel vehicles in the centre of Inverness. And I thought to myself, if we can do it, a business that's got owners with our own money and our own business, then why can't other people actually start to make these decisions to do it? And I think that, yes, there's a bit of work to do at the start to work out your charging infrastructure and what you can do at your own depot and groundworks and digging things up and getting them plugged in. Yes, you need to ask people questions. You know, I've known Sam a long time, and I did bounce a lot of things off him about what we were going to do. But you've just got to do it. And it's that classic entrepreneur thing. When you've run your own business, sometimes you say, oh, forget all the data, I'm just going to do this. And then I know deep down that it's going to work. And I think that where people procrastinate, and you can find a reason not to do things, and this is a transition. You know, this isn't going to happen overnight, because I've got vehicles that are doing 300 miles up to the west coast of Scotland. I can't just not deliver up there, and I can't have them sitting charging for 3 or 4 hours halfway through the day. We need to recharge vans overnight so that they're ready to go the next again day. So our transition really has been the just do it mentality, really, of getting on and having a crack at it, and then taking some of the learnings from it, because we have made some mistakes as well, you know, as you do when you run a business. So
tell us about those mistakes, Fraser. Tell us what those mistakes were. One of the earliest mistakes was we had a driver delivering out down near Loch Ness, and he phoned up the depot and said, I've got an issue with the battery, and someone drove out to meet him with a new battery for his scanner. And it was like, not the bloody scanner, the van. The van runs off a battery. You know, it's not a case of even the language in the office. You're having to say to people, you know, batteries aren't just things that go in scanners now. They actually power the vehicles. So we've been quite, you know, we did have a bit of range anxiety, I think it's called, with a few runs early on. But then what we've done is we've learned and worked with MEN, really, that we leave the vehicle plugged in while we heat it up and defrost the windscreen, and all these tips that save you maybe 5 to 10 miles a day, that you can make a huge difference to your operation. So I think that we've got better as we've gone on with it. But yeah, we had a few people running out of miles, and you know, yeah, we also damaged a cable one day where it wasn't unplugged correctly. Listen, I don't want to bore you with it, but these are all the learnings that you have when you think, how did we actually do that? And you look at something that's in bits or whatever, and you think, okay, we'll not do it again. So it hasn't been perfect, but nothing ever is. When you run a business, nothing ever is perfect. What do your customers think of EVs?
Well, our customers that send with us, like the big carriers and other people like that, I think that they are delighted that they see us making that step. They've also not really asked for a lot of detail back, because they're very cost and service driven. They are becoming more sustainability driven, and they're asking the questions. We've probably had more feedback from people who aren't customers, local people who live in Inverness or live in the Highlands, who just think, oh, it's great to see you're actually doing something, and that, you know, hopefully, I think Academy Street isn't in the top 10 most polluted now. Not down to us, I don't think. That's probably down to the others getting worse. But the fact that a local company's actually made an investment, and it is a big investment, because there's a big investment of our own money to purchase these vehicles, and there is a capital expenditure in doing it, and you're looking at that over a 3 to 5 year period.
So a comment from Mac, he says, bravo for having the bravery to go for it. You'd definitely get my business over the big boys. Best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. And I think there is a bit of that in there when you're your own company. I'm not saying you're a bit more rebellious, but you are a bit more like, well, we'll just do it. And people like that. And I think a lot of customers have seen us do that, and it's given us a bit of coverage, maybe.
Sorry, Sam.
Go on, Johnny. Oh, okay. I was just going to say, Fraser, all jokes aside, my sincere condolences to you on Magnus's passing. But I think it was really interesting what he said and what you said about you presenting a total cost of ownership model that says, look, these things are going to save us money. And he's like, yeah, but look how expensive they are. You know, and you had to go down the process of actually just, you know, JFDI, just doing it.
Yeah.
I missed the word out for obvious reasons. But and then when he saw the results in his own P&L on a month at the end of the month, went, wow, okay, now let's get more of these. You know, I think that's a really, really good case study, because you and I have worked together for many years. But the thing about you and I that's different is I started with fully electric. You've had to transition into it in a much more difficult landscape, probably harder than anybody's. So to be able to use that that's why I wanted you on the show, really, because that case study, the element of just doing it and then making people in your own business who are skeptical going, actually, hang on, this is going to save us a ton of money. Let's do more of it. Is such a powerful thing to demonstrate to everybody else, everywhere else, you know, different fleets, that says, actually, this is going to work and we're going to save money doing it.
I think that you're right, and the smoking analogy is really the truth, because when you ever work with someone, what is it they say? They become like a convert from a zealot kind of thing, and I think that is very true here. And I had to calm him down a bit, thinking, look, the range of these, we now need to work with the manufacturers to find the next batch that are going to deliver for us going forwards, and that's what we're doing. But from a point of view of just doing it, I mean, we've both the same mentality. You just give things a go, and that's what frustrates me. There's a lot of lazy people in this industry that just keep doing the same things, and it's not going to cut it anymore, I don't think.
Thank you very much, Fraser. I've just had a freight. Because we are a little bit behind time. So we do need to go to the next guest for today. But Fraser, if you can actually stay on, we'll do a round of questions straight after with both of you. So over to you, Sam.
All right, thank you. So we're on to Paul now, CEO of Posttag. Somebody else I've known since, I don't know when, Christ, it's years. But anyway, Paul is the CEO, which of course means he's pretty much involved in every aspect of the business, from sales, strategy, product development, tech, plus. His LinkedIn profile shows a life in corporate sales, but Posttag is actually his fourth startup. Something most people don't know about him is he's a fully qualified mechanic, having spent 7 years working in a Ford dealership before realizing that he enjoyed driving cars more than fixing them. And he was quite a successful child model. I now understand the last sentence. Now that you're on the screen, Paul, he also wants to make it clear that he is also definitely not Santa Claus. But anyway, although I've got to say, you make a good impersonator for sure.
Say ho 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 for us. Come on, Paul.
Ho ho ho.
Yeah.
Actually, John, I've got something specially for you. John, I'm a little bit disappointed. Actually, I'm trying to outdo you on the spectacle front.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I'd just sort of just join in here.
Could be swearing if you had a beard.
Yeah, I just can't carry it off.
Have we checked Paul's availability for the Christmas edition next month?
I'm always available.
We should have a ho 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 off between him and Edmund King.
Yeah, I apologise for my voice. I was at an event dinner last night and it was quite late, so I don't usually sound quite this croaky. But there we go. But thank you very much indeed, everybody, for inviting me on today. So I suppose really, why am I here? What's mine doing with Brown EVs? So if I tell you a little bit about what Posttag does in a simplistic form, and then bring on to what the EV market's doing and what we see from our side of it. So the easiest way to describe what Posttag do is, if anybody's ever used Google Maps and it says you've arrived at your location, you look around and go, well, where is it then? That's the problem that Posttag fixes. And I suppose that's okay if you're taking the kids somewhere or going to visit friends, but if you're delivering 150 parcels a day or 40 pizzas over the course of a shift, that becomes a major problem, and that whole sort of time, effort, mileage just becomes compound. You know, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So what Posttag does is works seamlessly behind the scenes to provide the precise location for addresses across the UK, Ireland, and soon to be globally. To give you an idea of scale, so we do about 120 to 150 address lookups a second, 5 million a day, 2.5 billion a year-ish. I know the maths don't quite add up, but you have peaks and troughs, etc. And we sort of work with some fairly major companies, likes of Hermes Everett's, Addison Lee, Domino's Pizza, Eating Food, and a whole bunch of others. But it's quite interesting from where we sit is that we see the volumes that come through the platform every single day. And sort of Pandora's box has well and truly opened over COVID. And if you look at the numbers, they still are not going down. If we compare the amount of deliveries that are being done this year to last year, they are growing and growing quite dramatically. So our interest in the whole sort of electrification market is quite simple, is that something has to be done. If you look at the wasted miles that are driven by people searching for an address, that's something that we can actually impact straight away. And also when you get onto that whole piece around range anxiety, going back to what Fraser was saying, that's a major issue we see with why people don't go to electric vehicles in the fleet market. If they have got a fleet's 80 or 100 miles, wherever they're around, that's great. But when they have to go beyond that, how do they actually cope? Or conversely, if they have to drive 20 or 30 miles to actually get to their route, the impact that has on their ability to use an electric vehicle as they go around the route is quite dramatic. So here at PostTag, what we've been doing is we've been looking at how we can help that. And we're doing some research at the moment with the Michigan State University around two things. And those two things are, what is the difference between the location that we have and Google have? I can give you some weird stats that in the UK, 60% of all UK addresses are approximately a football pitch, so 50 meters away from where Google will take you. So we're looking at how many wasted miles are there by people that rely on inaccurate location systems. And then more importantly, what actually is the carbon content that generates? So how much carbon is generated by somebody sitting in a van and just going round and round in circles, trying to find a location. So we're really moving into that. And there's some interesting stats we found out as well, that we did a survey recently, actually, it wasn't that recently, about 9 months ago now. And we asked one simple question. We go out sort of on a quarterly basis and we go out to the market and just ask a simple question. And the question we asked, which really astounded me, was for users of food delivery apps, how many times does a driver struggle to find your front door? So we surveyed 28,000 people. And of those 28,000 people, 60% said the driver struggled to find their front door. And a further 13% said the driver could never find their front door. So if you look at the food delivery market and then think of the same sort of stats and figures that go out into the courier market, you can see there's a massive issue here by not being able to just get to the right location. And going back to something that Fraser said earlier, there are lazy people out there. Right? The biggest challenge that we face in this particular market is a case of, from a sea level down, is the boys and girls on the floor actually always find the location. Right? Yes, they do always find the location because that's what they do. But think of the wasted money you have by having an inaccurate location that's built into a system. So we're very, very keen on sort of moving that forwards. And some other work we've been doing recently around the electrification is what happens when I want to go to an electric vehicle, but I haven't got somewhere to charge my vehicle up at home. I don't have access to a hub or off-street parking. If you look at the stats again, 50% of UK properties do not have off-street parking. So if you haven't got off-street parking, well, how do you charge your vehicle up? And it's sort of like this bit of a conundrum. So we're looking quite close at the moment at how we can use the technology of PostTag, working with some of the big couriers and some of the private hire companies out there to actually get over that step, remove another barrier that stops somebody going from the internal combustion engine to electric. And that one is how do I charge up? Where are the charges? Again, precision location, which is the PostTag that comes in. How do I pay for that? And then more importantly, how do I know that when I reach that charger, it is fleet enabled? So there's a huge amount that we're working on at the present moment behind the scenes, more than just, hey, look, guys, this is where the location is. It's using the technology that we have at this moment to actually move towards that goal of electrification of the fleet. So it's an interesting marketplace. I mean, we've been doing this now for 6-7 years, but it's only really sort of the double whammy of Brexit and COVID that catapulted PostTag forwards. And that was because, one of the mantras we had was if you can't recruit more drivers, just make the drivers you've got more. efficient. And that's really sort of hit home. So yeah, it's an interesting market, and there's a lot going on that I can't say about, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes about what you can use that information for. And it's not just about a location, 12 Smith Street and there's the lat long for it. It's also all the metadata that you can build in behind the scenes to actually make a particular driver's job easier and better.
Paul, one of the key things about what you do is that we know of other location finding systems with,
you can say it, John, you can say it.
All right, what 3 words is out there? And everybody says, oh yeah, what 3 words? Amazing. Sam's 3 words would be man, bun, and late. But PostTag is different because you're a bit like the credit reference agency in that you go to various data sources to prove the precise location of the front door, don't you?
Yeah, so thanks for reminding me about what my company actually does, John. So I appreciate that. The checks in the post, I promise. What 3 words? Great product, right? It has its place in the market. But if you were to go out to the market and actually ask people what their 3 words are, they'll go, I don't know. But if you ask somebody what their address is, where they live, everybody knows. And the UK supposedly has the 2nd best addressing system in the world. But even with that, people still can't get to a location. So I'll go back to something I said at the top of the call, which is the top of the meeting, which is we use Google Maps. Amount of times you personally have said, well, where is it then? How do I do that? So to your point, John, the way we differ is, there's Experian, there's Locates, there's Data8, there's a whole bunch of other people out in the marketplace. They're our key competitors in the market. And where we differ is around that case that we enhance the information that's currently in the marketplace with additional data sets. So we don't have one version of the truth. We don't just take what's in the path file and say that's right. So what our system actually does, it looks across those multiple data sets, which we either buy, we create our own data as well now, or we get given data quite a lot as well. And what we do is we use the system to cross-reference and go, okay, based on the information we have, we can do 2 things at the core level. And that core level is, how certain are we that the address that we've been given, we can decode? I have to admit, some of the addresses that come to the platform, you'd be amazed at what people put in there, still expect you to be able to deliver something. And once we've done that and put a certainty ratio against it, can we provide a location that goes against that? And that's where the system differs. It's unlike what 3 words insofar as there is no user intervention. You go to an e-com site, you type in your address as you would normally, we sort everything else out behind the scenes. And that's the difference, if you like, between us and a lot of other people out in the marketplace. Plus, it's that metadata which that drives them careers well.
Thanks. Can I just quickly ask that John and Fraser come back online for the final sort of 12 minutes or so round of questions?
Can I ask a quick question for Paul, please? Paul, you said that we have the 2nd best postcode system in the world. What is the first, and what makes it better? What is it that makes it more or better than ours, I suppose?
That's a really good question. So it's a bit of a toss-up between either Switzerland or Singapore. Are the 2 the sort of top things, and the reason for that is that each property has its own in essence, its own postcode. So you begin to see this now if you go out to the MENA region. You get anything like short code, which you see in Saudi Arabia, which is 4 digits, 4 numbers for every building. You get the same thing, and I can never pronounce this, so excuse me if I butcher it. It's Makuni or Mancuni or something, not Mankini. In sort of Dubai, which is another like a string of digit names. But again, it's difficult to use because it's not natural. Yeah. So yeah, it's Singapore and Switzerland are the 2. And Johnny Berry, I've got your email address. I'll drop you a thing afterwards.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, it's called hate mail. Alan Acaster asked the question, and I know Jan is typing the answer, but we're going to go live if that's all right with you, Jan. Are there any last mile providers researching autonomous vehicles and their potential once they're available on the road? And are they a good thing or a bad thing? Come on, Jan, you can tell us.
We're working on several projects with several large companies for autonomous vehicles. Is it a good thing? I absolutely want an autonomous vehicle at some point in the future. For me personally, I'd love to just get in a car and just be taken somewhere. So for me, it'd be a great thing. It's happening. It's early days, and we'll let you know as and when we get more results.
It's got a taxi cam.
Sorry,
Well, your man of your caliber doesn't have a chauffeur, John. The Jack can.
But I think for commercial vehicles, autonomous makes a lot of sense, particularly around trucking when they're sort of moving from one area of the country to another, and vans on similar sort of or train-like kind of processes. And we also know that passenger transport around local areas is also another good area for autonomy. So there's a number of things going on in the market that is all about kind of getting goods to the last mile, so that it can be then delivered through autonomy. So it's definitely fully being researched.
I'd like to welcome Sharik onto the panel, who's going to tell us a bit about a show that's happening at the end of this month. So, Sharik, welcome to the EV Cafe. I'm a bit rusty with Zoom, so bear with me a sec.
Oh, there he is. He's just arrived.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope Alan does get that mug, by the way.
I think it's the best question of the day without any doubt. So, Alan Acaster, you have a mug, my friend.
I can see Paul. John, can you hear me?
Yes,
we got you, Sharik. Hi.
Good afternoon. Great to see you all. How are you?
Really good, Sharik. Thank you. Really good. I'm really looking forward to hearing about the London EV show from you.
Yeah, 2 weeks to go.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. I know I have a couple of minutes, so I'll get straight into it. So we're really looking forward to the 29th November to 1st December. So yeah, less than 2 weeks now. But I have some quick updates, what one can expect at the show this year. This is the second year, but I think we made quite a good progress since last year. We're looking at about 1,000 plus companies, so delegates, etc., joining us, about 160 exhibitors to check the latest developments, products, services in the EV industry. 7,000 plus attendees have already registered, so I think we're looking at quite a busy time. Good representation from governments as well. I think it's all about bringing the whole ecosystem together. There are going to be about 20 ministerial delegations this year, and about 100 plus speakers. Again, looking at excellent content and whatever is happening out there in the world of EVs. So anyone wants to join or wants to take a look at the latest updates, all the information is out there on the LondonEVshow.com, or if we just Google the London EV Show, we can check all the updates there. But thank you for having me, and really looking forward to seeing you all there.
Thanks, Sharik. Perhaps drop the link in the chat, Sharik, when you get a second.
Oh, we'll do that.
Thank you, Sharik. We look forward to it.
We're really excited to be there. We'll be there with our own EV Cafe community, with all the sponsors of the EV Cafe represented and making a lot of noise. So come and see us at the London EV show as well. And we might even have a mug or two.
Oh, that's high promises.
I promise. There also might be the odd tucker around.
Really? Can you make these promises?
Do we know what time it is?
Well,
it's to go live in the studio with Sarah.
Why do you always do this to me?
Because it's funner.
Isn't that good? I've got to spotlight it for everyone.
You can't do it. Okay, you actually can't do it. I just need to do one quick thing. Because I promise.
Sorry for giving you no warning at all there, Sarah.
No warning whatsoever. I just got to put this on, which I think looks really, really nice. And I've got my lightning bolt jumper as well, which is good for the news. Okay, it's so falling off, guys. I've got it. We're in business. Welcome to the EV Cafe News. I am Sarah Sloman. It's lunchtime. It's also Movember. So please pay attention because we're back on Zoom. Hooray! I can't talk in this thing. I'm bringing you 3 real stories from the EV world today. So last month at Fleet Mobility Live, we heard Ted Psaki, European head of fleet at LKQ, has huge plans for electrification, which will exclude the use of public EV charging on the basis of it being cost prohibitive. This time last year at the London EV show, Quentin Wilson launched Fair Charge, highlighting that the VAT is set at 20% for public charging as opposed to 5% for home energy. But at the same time, Uswitch published that the VAT rate on business electricity bills is also 20%. But that adds the hopeful news that in order to promote energy efficiency and help hit national targets, the government is now offering a discounted rate of 5% for businesses if they use a limited amount of electricity and can prove it. So flexibility is key for fleet, but only if you procure the right kit and the right software to run it for the back to base fleet management models. So innovation from Paris next, as Volta Trucks and electric motorcycle manufacturer Cake team up to decarbonise and decongest city centre streets by creating a portable electric micro hub to enable last mile delivery. The first trial is with H&M Group, planned to take place in Paris in Q1 next year. And the idea is, I thought it was absolutely nuts. So the idea is that the zero tailpipe emission delivery service from warehouse to end customer uses a combination of an electric truck and a whole load of two-wheelers. So the big truck goes to the warehouse, picks up the motorcycles and acts as a micro hub or mini warehouse. And then those motorcycles are loaded into the van and then they park up where they need to go and are all deployed into the city centre carrying the H&M shopping. It reminded me of those Spider Baby videos on YouTube where a massive thing opens up and then loads more little ones scurry away. I don't think anyone needed that image any more than this moustache situation. And finally, Movember Madness continues with lots of the EV Cafe community out there raising money for the cause. Thank you, very special gift to Linda Grave, our EV queen, who sent me a whole bunch of fancy moustaches, which will crop up in the next 2 weeks. But whilst it's nice to be lighthearted, it is not without purpose. And John, you started this, thank you very much. But around 10.8 million men globally are facing life with prostate cancer, and testicular cancer is the most common cancer amongst young men. And across the world, 1 man dies by suicide every minute of every day, with males accounting for 69% of all suicides known globally. So Movember is uniquely placed to address this. It's about getting people talking and raising money to help offer the facility to accelerate that conversation. And the pledge was to complete 60 kilometres this month and raise as much money as possible. I stupidly pledged 600 kilometres and I really, truly think I might fail, and it's starting to keep me awake at night. But it won't, will it, Paul? Because you're going to do the miles for me, aren't you?
I'll get on my bike and I'll do some.
How many are you going to do? Can I take some
about stitched up? What? You know, I mean,
I'm picking on you.
5, 6, maybe.
Guys,
you got it.
I'm really sorry, but we have less than 5 minutes. So I'm thinking quick fire questions from our audience, and then we must try to finish on time at 1 o'clock.
I'm just worried that Richard Parker wants a picture of me on a bike, but anyway.
In latex.
Oh, right. Okay. Questions. Oh, let's not even think about that. Ooh, nearly lunch. Anonymous attendee, whoever the heck, whoever you are, what would panel suggest as the top 3 things to consider when considering going to EV? Go, Paul. Give us one.
He's on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Top 10 things. What's okay? Right, you put him on the spot here.
Just one.
Just one.
All right, one. I would say that charging ability. You know, how easy is it to charge the vehicle up? Because that's the key point here.
Got to get the juice in. Fraser, what do you reckon?
I've just answered all 3 there on the thing. So I think that they should actually ask national carriers for proof that if they're doing any routes that are under 100 miles a day, what they're doing to move those routes over to be on electric vehicles, because that's really where there's no excuse, because it's not difficult to do and that information could be done quite quickly. So that was one thing I put down for that, because I think the data is there for that. It would be easy. I just think it's a lot of laziness. If you said to them, why haven't you done it? They'd have to front up an answer and explain why.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jan No Hairy, what do you think?
Jan No Hairy. So today you could just work on idling, so that would help the sustainability piece. I think on the electric vehicle fleet transition piece, just check on driver behaviour. That's one of the main areas of limiting range.
Thank you, Jan. Michael Barton has asked a brilliant question that I just can't resist. So, can post tag take into account a person's front door, and you can see where this is going, and their back door, quiet at the back, for deliveries? So can you be that specific about precisely which entrance you use?
There's no short answer to that. Well, there is a short answer to that. Yes, the longer form answer would require about 15 minutes to explain how that would happen. Does that answer the question, or have I just chickened out?
You've just chickened out, but thank you,
Yeah.
because I just really wanted to answer the question and didn't really care what the answer was. What do you mean when you say a fleet-enabled charger, Paul? You mentioned it during your presentation.
Yeah, so what I'm talking about there is if you look at a lot of the chargers out there, they just aren't enabled for a van. Either there's not enough height, or the vans are too long, or you can't. It's all, the cable isn't long enough to get to the van. So that's what we're looking at: is how can you, when you send a fleet user to an electric charging point, how can we ensure that when they get there, it's fit for purpose in terms of the vehicle being able to get into it?
I have to say, I think you've just made Paul Kirby very happy.
Absolutely. I think, you can't actually shorten the van. Although it is fair to say that one of the things that I was thinking about is you've got to be fit for purpose with your transition to whatever vehicle that you're going to use. But it doesn't mean to say that you can't consider what can you do differently in your business. I mean, to Fraser's point earlier, let's not be lazy about this. Let's kind of consider what can we change in order to be able to transition to being sustainable by getting a different fit for purpose.
I'm really sorry, all. We talk for hours and hours, but that's all we have time for. So I just want to say thank you for everyone for tuning in. And if you haven't already, then please subscribe to our channels. And make sure you don't miss out on the weekly EV news. That's every Friday at 10 a.m. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for the special guests for your content today.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks,
a lot.
guys.
I deserve it.
Sam, wake up.